Okay, hello everyone. I'm Craylee with Phoenix Sisters Cosplay. This is our guest returning again, Greg. How you doing, Greg?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I'm actually like super stressed, but that's why we do, drunk comics, right? So we can talk about comics, relax with a drink.
We can just sort of unwind from things and go into another world.
Exactly. And then if you're in a position where you can't drink, just live vicariously through us.
Absolutely. Though the world that we're going to be visiting today is not one I'd recommend visiting because it's actually worse off than ours, if you can believe that.
Right. Well, sometimes you actually want to like that downer of, oh, it could be worse. So I'm going to let you introduce it. You're talking to us today about DCeased. So
yep, that's right. It is a elseworlds story that basically DC zombies, like what zombies showed up in the DC universe. Not like the Black Lanterns that happened back before the New 52. This is something completely different.
Yeah.
And
I feel like maybe if we hadn't pre-gamed socializing a little bit, I might remember when the Black Lantern crisis happened, the Darkest Night.
I think it was like 2007, 2008, sometime around then.
Yeah, you need to drink more if you can estimate it.
Yeah, well, that's why I've got the big glass.
The big glass. I like it. Continue.
But this story... All right. Well, this story takes place in like 2018, 2019, and pretty much used the generic continuity by that point. You've got the Justice League, you've got like all the established characters running around, and you've got some of the newer ones that have been recently introduced over the last 5 or 6 years, like John Kent, Superman and Lois's son, Damian Wayne, Batman's son.
Damian Wayne.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's actually a bit better in this particular story. I know a lot of people have trouble with him, like they complain about him being a brat and whatnot, but he's a little older in this one, and he's a little less stab happy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, maybe I should give him another chance. I would like to see a less obnoxious Damian Wayne.
Yeah, a good series that he was in. It's a shame that it was canceled. It was called Super Sons. Basically, John Kent and Damian Wayne, Superboy and Robin, were kind of going off doing their own thing, getting into trouble, and it was a good story. They bounced off each other pretty well.
Hold on. Before I get too drunk again. Right?
Okay.
Handy dandy notebook.
Ah. Get everything down there.
Super Sons. There we go. I've done enough drunk comics by now.
I didn't know you're going to forget everything by the end.
Right. I know now. Okay. So, DCeased.
All right. Well, let's see. This particular comic is an Elseworlds story, as I mentioned. It's actually by Tom Taylor, the guy who wrote the Injustice comics. You probably heard of some of them. They spin off from the video games.
I think I've actually done... Yeah. I did an Injustice Harley. I didn't play any of the games. I just really liked the costume. So it's like red pleather pants and like a pleather corset. It's a whole thing.
Sure. Yeah. It was a fun game overall, and it had a really good story.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so getting into the meat and potatoes of this one, it starts off with Darkseid has invaded and the Justice League has come together to stop him, and we're basically at like the very end of that. Superman's fighting Darkseid one-on-one. He breaks his jaw, like the narrator talks about here in the crack of thunder, but really it's, quote, the sound of someone breaking a god's jaw or something like that. And so you see this big shot of like the entire Justice League together. Darkseid's wrapped up in the lasso of truth, and they're telling him, okay, we beat you. Your invasion's been repelled. leave now, never come back. And the lasso compels you, all that good stuff. And Darkseid, he stands up, he's like, don't worry, I won't be coming back. I've got what I need. He takes the lasso off himself, and I think it's Green Arrow who says, you know, everything was going pretty well right up until he said that. And Batman, he gets like sort of this notification that Cyborg has gone missing.
No, not Cyborg.
Yeah, he put him with he had him fitted with like a tracker. I guess he didn't know that. And everyone's freaking out that Batman did this again because there's another story back in the 90s called Tower of Babel, where he has like all these contingencies for the different leaguers in case something happens to them. And he's got a tracker on Cyborg, which can track him basically anywhere within like the universe, apparently. Because in the new 52, like at least post that, Cyborg is made up of apocalyptic technology. So all that firepower that they still don't even know how completely works or how it affects him, he doesn't want to leave that unchecked. And now he's just gone. He's not even in their galaxy, their universe, whatever. What actually happened was he was abducted by parademons, I'm assuming, and right now he's on Apocalypse, and he's pretty much chained up to this big table, and Darkseid's little minion, DCeased, is there. He's torturing him. And we get a bit more into what makes Darkseid tick here.
I've always wondered. I feel like all of my Darkseid knowledge is like he shows up, he gets his butt kicked, he's gone. Like, I have not read enough about Darkseid.
Oh, there's a whole thing, but that's best suited for like another time. But essentially, he's after this thing called the anti-life equation. You might have heard of that if you know about Darkseid.
A little bit, little smidge.
Basically, it's this mathematical proof or something like that, or formula, where if you throw it all together, then all life can become like enslaved or put under his complete control, his authority. Basically, he wants to control all life becomes him, that sort of thing.
Bad stuff.
Pretty bad, yeah. No more free will. And he's already got half the equation by this point, and Darkseid walks in while like decides torturing Cyborg. Like the two are like sort of bantering back and forth. Cyborg's being a smartass, and Darkseid comes in and he has Darkseid cut out Cyborg's tongue so he can't sass back at him. And he eventually grows it back. I mean, that's just part of like his powers, I guess.
Still, just like my heart, poor Victor.
It's not pleasant. So anyway, by this point, Cyborg, or Darkseid, I mean, has half the equation, and he thinks that the other half is imbued within Cyborg because he's half man, half machine. He's both living and dead, or something like that. And he thinks that if he can get this from Cyborg, or like somehow imbue some of Cyborg's makeup within what he already has with the equation, then he can control it. The problem is the process might end up killing Cyborg, so Darkseid wants to control his death. So what he does, he summons like this other minion of his. He's called the Black Racer. He's basically the Grim Reaper of the DC universe, and in particular of like members of the Speed Force, you know, like the Flash, Reverse Flash, all of them. So he calls him in, and he basically rips off a piece of the Black Racer, and he imbues it within like this box or whatever, sticks it with Cyborg, starts reading the proof out, but something goes wrong. And he just starts scratching at his head, tearing at it. He's just all this rage, pain, anger just envelops him. And the sounds like, okay, that's not right. Something's going on. Something's wrong. And he just starts destroying everything. he's like hulked out basically, no control, just smashing everything.
No. Hulk is Marvel, Greg.
Yeah, Hulk is Marvel, yeah. But you know what I mean, like
No, I do know.
He's
I'm
an
just
unstoppable rage monster, and he's basically patient one, let's put it that way, and decides like, okay, this went wrong. I'm getting you out of here. So he opens up like a boom tube and pushes Cyborg out, and so that he goes back to Earth. And Darkseid, to sort of like escape his pain or something, he jumps into the fire pits of Apocalypse, and the whole planet blows up.
Oh man.
Yeah. So.
Oh man. It's like a
Darkseid,
one-way situation, like.
I don't know if it was because of like all the power that was imbued with him, and then jumping into the pure power of like the fire pits or whatever within the planet. I don't know. All I know is
Maybe
that
the fire pits go like all the way down into the core of the planet.
probably, and then it destroyed like his mortal vessel or something. All the power escaped from him, and then just caused an explosion.
I accept that. That is my headcanon for when I go back and read this now. Not
Yep,
that my reading list isn't
Apocalypse full of Krypton. Apocalypse pulled a Krypton. So back on Earth, Cyborg he emerges in the middle of like some standard city. I'm not sure if it says what it is, but part of him, like wherever he's somewhere, like his digital mind or the computer part of him, it automatically connects to the Wi-Fi and sends this new anti-life equation is now literally anti-life. It wants to spread and like kill and envelop as many people as possible. And using Cyborg's like technical side, it basically goes into the internet. And so anyone who's looking at a screen, be it like a phone or a TV or like a jumbotron, something like that, they immediately become infected. So like more than half the world becomes infected within like a day.
Yeah, that's scary. I think I prefer the Wreckit Ralph version of going into the internet. You know, there's just cute little boxes flying around everywhere. There's a Twitter tower, like, you know, not to enslave the whole human race kind of side effect of going into the internet.
Yeah, and Cyborg can't do anything to stop him. He can't tell him like, hey, put it down or whatever, because his tongue still hasn't come back in. So he basically has to take cover someplace while everything's just going to hell. Superman.
It seems really inconvenient to not have a tongue.
A bit, yeah. So Superman, he realizes something's going on. He's out with, I think, Big Barda and Mr. Miracle by this point. And they recognize that whatever's going on, it's apocalyptic in nature. And it seems to be affecting like certain things. Like I mentioned, like the phone screens, it's gone digital. And so he realizes that his family might be in danger. So he flies off to go and check on them. Now at this point, his wife and son, Lois and John, are basically at their apartment in Metropolis, and Damian Wayne is with them, and him and John are just playing video games and just being teenagers.
Okay, I'm gonna, because you told me he gets better, I'm gonna resist the whole like face.
Damian goes through the gauntlet in this series, and he definitely comes out better for it. So the two boys are playing video games. Lois is looking for her phone because she's like over 20 and modern age. So she has a cell phone somewhere. And she's like, boys, can we find my phone? And John's like, you're the son of the world's greatest detective. Can you find it? He's like, you have X-ray vision. You can find it. Okay. It's behind the fruit bowl. Thanks, John. So she goes there. Yeah. So she goes to get, and Superman just bursts in. He visions the phone. Like, don't touch it. Don't look at it. He destroys the TV screen. He's like, don't look at anything. And he's able to save his family. And he basically tells him, hey, something's going on. Like, don't look at screens and whatnot. And Damian, he's trying to get in touch with Batman, his dad. He's got like a little communicator, but Batman's not responding. He's been having problems of his own. He's at the cave and he's figured out what's going on in Gotham, basically more or less the same way as Superman. And the cave, it's not connected to like the traditional internet or whatever, so nothing's coming up on his screens. However,
I'm not surprised that the Bat Cave has its own dedicated like
firewall or protection.
Net.
Like yeah, because Batman's a paranoid guy. But the problem is Wayne Manor does not have the same safeguards, and he hears like this yell going on from upstairs, and he asks like the computer, like, "Hey, is Wayne Manor safe from this?" And like, "No, okay, activate the EMP." So he does that, shuts off all the power and whatnot to the manor.
So the Wayne Manor EMP TM.
Yeah, so he goes up to see what's going on, and we find Alfred is in the kitchen, and he's fighting off an infected Nightwing, Dick Grayson.
I mean, yeah. It's like a zombie infection. We know it's gonna infect some of the characters we know, but like,
oh yeah,
it's just like, no, I just don't want to see that happen to them.
Yeah, well, unlike say like Marvel Zombies, have you read that one?
I have not. I haven't read a lot of, so like maybe I lose my nerd card for this, but the only Marvel comics I've read are the X-Men ones that mostly concern Emma Frost or Jean Grey and Elektra. Like, I was so happy that now there are more like Elektra specific comics without having to read all the Daredevil ones, even though I like Daredevil. Like,
yeah, I mean,
started a long time before I was born, okay? Like, a long time before most of us were born, and you just gotta pick and choose.
Absolutely. Hey, you still got your nerd card as far as I'm concerned. We all have characters, we follow them, characters we don't.
Awesome. Okay, good. I feel so much better. So relieved.
All right. Well, in the Marvel Zombies story, basically, like, everyone was getting infected, and there was some messed up stuff that happened in there. Basically, like, the heroes could get their consciousness back if they devoured brains, like, as zombies. And there was some dark stuff, like Spider-Man Peter Parker's like, "Oh, I can't believe I killed my wife and my Aunt May," and there's some really messed up stuff that happens in those stories. But DCeased isn't like that. Like, you get infected, you're basically like, you still have your powers and whatnot, or whatever abilities you might have, but you're, for all intents and purposes, a zombie.
Right.
There's back.
So this is like a Walking Dead situation, not a oh gosh, what was that zombie movie? It was like another one of those Romeo and Juliet like movie or interpretation. Warm Bodies.
Oh, Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies. Viewers, if you haven't seen Warm Bodies, it's like the cutest zombie movie ever.
Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure of mine as well. I'd say this world follows more along the lines of a World War Z, like those kind of zombies.
Right.
All right, so Alfred's fighting Nightwing in the kitchen, and he's like, "Oh God, what's happening here?" And Batman's just like taken back, because this is basically like one of the kids that he regards as like his sons. Like, he took him in as his ward, as well as another Robin, Tim Drake. Well, he's going by Red Robin at this point in the story. And
in my opinion, Tim Drake is the real Robin, like the real Robin. Like, I know Nightwing was the first one, but like,
yeah, Tim Drake was my Robin too. Yeah, and he was also the first Robin to be given a pair of pants. So progress there. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Just spit out your wine.
Just a little bit. Most of it made it down my throat.
Well, yeah, I mean, the original Robin costume was basically like a circus outfit. You had the vest, the short sleeves, the little green trunks, and the pixie boots.
Yeah.
Tim Drake's Robin costume, like, this was done like he was the Robin after Jason Todd, of course. So Batman wanted to make sure this one stayed alive, so he gave him like more protection, more
Oh
armor.
my gosh, being alive equals having pants.
More or less, at least then.
Just the way you said it, I'm just picturing like, you know, all the previous Robins, even when they're not Robin, going to school being like, please don't bully me for not wearing pants. I just don't have any. Okay, Bruce Wayne doesn't give his wards pants.
Well, you know what I mean? Like they're superhero costumes. They've got like the green Speedos, basically.
I did know what you mean 1 second later, but the visual had already taken hold.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of wine in my nose.
I was gonna say, did it come out your nose there?
Yep, a little bit.
That is amazing.
That's a drunk comics first for me.
For me too. I've never seen that happen. Yeah, but speaking of Tim Drake, he also is unfortunately infected. So Nightwing and Red Robin attack, and Batman is like bitten, he's scratched, so he's gonna die.
No.
Yeah, first issue in, and Batman's basically taken out of the equation. Actually, there's something, I'm not sure if you'll be able to edit it in later, but there are variant covers for the DCeased issues, and they're basically like homages to like classic or modern horror movies. Like you've got parodies of like It, Nightmare on Elm Street, Final Destination, stuff like that. They're really well made
for those because she does our editing. For that, viewers, Kelly does all the heavy lifting on the editing for this series. I just want to give her all the credit.
Uh-oh. You gotta